Right. Buddha Saranai, let me, with respect, let me welcome the most Venerable Olande Anand Mahathera and also Venerable Vajrarame Jnanasiha Thero, Venerable Theros, the Sasil Matas, committee members of the International Dhamma Program, our advisors, special invitees, and Dhamma friends. Duruthu full moon Poya Day marks the first full moon Poya Day for the year 2024 and the first visit of Lord Buddha after 9 months of enlightenment to visit Mahayangana in Sri Lanka to end the hostilities between the Yakas and the Nagas. Lord Buddha, using his supreme supernatural powers, was able to bring about peace, and the Blessed One preached the message of peaceful coexistence to them. One of them was Sumana Saman, who obtained Sotapanna or Sovan and begged of Lord Buddha for a relic to pay homage to once he had left him. Some locks of Lord Buddha's hair or Kesadhatu was laid in a golden casket with Sumana Saman enshrined in a small stupa built at the site where this occurred, now known as the Mahayangana Mahavihara or Chaitya. Following Lord Buddha's Parinirvana 543 BC, the collarbone or the Griva Dhatu was also enshrined in the Mahayangana Rajamaha Vihara. Duruthu full moon Poya Day marks this very religious Poya Day for Sri Lankans, and the International Dhamma Program is conducting the Dhamma talk on foundations of mindfulness, followed by a guided meditation. This will be conducted by the Most Venerable Olande Ananda Thero. You will also have an opportunity to submit questions on Q&A to be taken up at the Q&A session after the Dhamma talk. Most Venerable Olande Ananda Thera is the resident meditation teacher at the Pagoda Meditation Center and a teacher in meditation around Europe, Holland, Germany, France, and Australia. Just before I invite Deepal Suryarachi to introduce Venerable Thero, I want to say that our first Dhamma program in English, which was conducted on the Posan Poya Day on June 15, 2020, after the COVID-19 pandemic, was conducted by Venerable Olande Ananda Thero. So Venerable Olande Ananda Thero, I must pay much merit to you because you were responsible for conducting the first Poya on the Posan Poya Day in on Zoom. At that time, due to the COVID, we were using the technology, and that's how the Zoom Dhamma programs commenced. And also the next one in the month of July too, where we had a discussion, and there too, Deepal Suryarachi was the moderator and we conducted. So I'm very thankful to Deepal for all the support that he has given us. So may I now invite Deepal Suryarachi, who has been with us from the beginning, to introduce Venerable Olande Ananda Thero.
Thank you, Professor. Venerable Anand Andru.
Can you speak? If you can get a little closer to the mic.
Okay, right. Is it clear now?
Yeah, now better, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad to see Venerable Jnanasiha Thero also on the program. Namaste, Namaskar. And it gives me a tremendous pleasure to introduce Venerable Olande Ananda. I don't think he needs any introduction to this audience. And his biography, which was done by by Mr. D.C. Ranatunga, called the monks and monkeys is now translated to so many languages. And it's, if I say that he is one of the most known Sri Lankan monks, Buddhist monks across the globe, for the simple reason he has traveled across the world in many places. And I first met him in 1980, and I had the fortune of visiting his parents. And I have traveled to many parts of the world with him ever since during our interreligious living dialogue. And he was affectionately called at that time by many as the Flying Dutch Monk, because the regular flyer program of KLM was called Flying Dutchman. So he's known for his extensive travels. And in these travels, as much as he conducts programs, he interacts with people, and they discover the fascination of Dhamma through those little interactions. I will be sharing two of them later. And I first met him in 1980 when he was at Rock Hill Hermitage in Kandy. And I still remember the two very important meditation lessons he gave me. So it was my first retreat at anywhere. And then he asked me, how was your meditation? Then I told him the morning session was good, but the afternoon session was not. Then he told me, you have not been meditating, you have been comparing. I thought that was a very, very powerful lesson. And then another occasion I told, the problem, Bhante, is this, my mind wanders. He said, yes, that is the nature of the mind. Your job is to observe, not to add more fuel to that fire. So those were very, very important meditation lessons I received from him. And ever since, he has been a continuous Kalyana Mitra to me, and almost, throughout that entire period, we have been in touch, and we have traveled and visited. And just to illustrate, and actually he was known earlier when he was at Rock Hill for his free distribution of spectacles and water projects. And at one point, I remember him doing a major Dhamma program in Ladakh, building some facilities there. And just to illustrate how he interacts and influences people, there was a BBC program called The Strictest Parents in the World. And in that program, what they did was they took some very naughty youngsters, teenagers, and got them to live with some very strict parents of different parts of the world. One such girl was living in Sri Lanka, and their parents got that child to visit Bhante Ananda at Pagoda Meditation Center. So then he said, when he invited her to walk up to the meditation hall, and he said, usually we remove our shoes to enter this. He said, maybe, but I don't want to change my ways of doing it. Then Bhante said, no, we will change the rules at least today. No, I don't want to change my rules. Then he said, not your rules, but our rules. So he said, wipe your feet very well and walk into the meditation center. And that changed that girl's entire attitude. And she became a student of Metta meditation. It's on BBC. You can go to YouTube and check that. There was another incident a couple of years ago. We were in France as part of this interreligious dialogue discussions. And there was a family of 4 with 2 children. They were from Sweden, I think. And there was this young boy. They didn't believe in any religions. The father was from Sweden and mother was from Turkey, if I remember correct. And so he asked, both of you supposed to be Buddhists, but Deepal wears ordinary suits, but you wear a different suit, and what this means. Then he explained, who is a Buddhist monk and all the rest of it. Then this boy asked, why did you become a monk? Then he said, I wanted to find out what's the life of a monk. And the best way to find out something is by trying it. So I tried it. Then he asked, are you happy? Then he said, yes, I'm very happy as a Buddhist monk. So 2-3 days later, before we left the place, this young boy, very intelligent guy, and went up to his mother and said, Ma, I want to become a Buddhist. So that's how he influences people. And I'm sure there are many who have had such encounters with Bhante. So with that personal introduction, I would like to invite Bhante to conduct the program today. Thank you for the opportunity, Professor.
Thank you very much, Deepal. Venerable Thero, before inviting Venerable Thero to give Pansil, I must also say that today's event is also uh, uh, sponsored by one of someone known to Venerable Olande Ananda Thero. He is our Ivo and Ranjani Gunatilaka. So they are also here with us, and I think they've also been earlier. They are Venerable Thero's Dayakas. So may I now invite Venerable Olande Ananda Thero to deliver Pansil and start the Dhamma program. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
I realized that I need a talat for that, I suppose. No Pansil without the talat.
Right.
So let us then observe the Pansil by saying Namaskara.
Namo tassa bhagavate arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Anatipata virmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Pranatipata viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinnadana virmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinnadana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kami sumiccachara virmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kame sumitrachara viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada virmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Suramirya majjapama dattana virmani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Suramire majjapama dattana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Taranena sadding panchasilang dhammang sadhukang surakkitang katva appamadena sampadeta. So, dear friends in the Dhamma, today's topic for our program is about meditation and the foundations of mindfulness, and also the influence of meditation on our daily life. That is the first part, basically a kind of theoretical overview. And then it will be followed by a practical guided meditation, more or less on the lines of these theories, and followed by the possibility of having a Q&A, question and answer session. So basically, the four foundations of mindfulness, as they are propounded by the Buddha, are the body, feelings, mind, and mental objects. The Kayanusati, the Vedananusati, Chittanusati, and Dhammanusati. Anusati would mean to be aware of, or to have full, not really concentration, but an awareness of the things as they are. Some people seem to think that meditation means you have to just concentrate on one object, get completely absorbed in it, and then if you're successful, only then you can say your meditation was good. If you reach, for instance, the first jhana or beyond, and maybe even the psychic powers that go along with it. If you reach the fourth jhana, you become clairvoyant, you have clairaudience, and then you may be reading other people's minds. Well, that may be very boring or exciting, I don't know. But anyway, the different kinds of psychic powers that might come along with the practice of that kind of meditation, which is coming under what is called the tranquility, so-called tranquility meditation, by concentrating on a particular object. So usually, yes, we do start with a kind of concentration on, for instance, the feeling of the body sitting where you are. So to become aware of the body. Now, there can be different possibilities to be aware of that, namely, basically, either you're sitting or standing or lying down or walking. But sometimes you may be, let's say, bungee jumping in the modern times, or do something very extraordinary with your body, or maybe dancing. You could be doing the dishes or whatever. So those are also bodily activities. To be aware of what you're doing basically is not only just sitting and standing and walking and the other kinds of formal meditations. We also have the informal meditation or the applied mindfulness in daily life. So if one tries to say that, yes, well, I want to be aware of my body all the time, you'll definitely find out that you cannot be aware of that body all the time. Your mind will definitely go here and there. Even if you want to be aware of your, let's say, the feelings of your body, this Vedananusati, then also you may feel your body for some time. But again, it will go here and there. Your mind will not stay in one place. It's used to that for the last thousands of years, that kind of going here and there. So what people then think sometimes is that their meditation is like a failure because they cannot concentrate their mind on one chosen object. Because they have the idea that meditation means to be fully concentrated on just one object. And if not, then they feel like a failure. And sometimes they give up meditation altogether because they have the wrong idea about what meditation is. So if we would say, well, the Buddha has taught the mindfulness of body, feelings, mind, and mental objects, that more or less covers everything that you could become aware of. And if it happens that your mind goes here and there, it's not a matter of condemning that, but rather to notice it in a neutral way, neither by clinging to something nor by condemning it, nor by getting stuck in it, or by staying with it and judging it and things like that, adding basically other things to what is actually there already. So it becomes an accumulation of maybe problems even, thoughts about the past, thoughts about the so-called future based on hopes and fears. Basically, we don't know what the future has. Actually, the future is uncertain. That is anagate avinishchita. So, but people think and project with their own mind a future based on their own ideas or ideals, hopes and fears, and then find out that it is completely different when it actually happens. So the way of overcoming that particular problem would be to just notice that you are thinking, thinking, sort of labeling the experience, maybe with a word in your own language, or just to look at it, not with your eyes open, but with your mental eye, and knowing that this is the case. And then you find actually that that problem or that conflict between what is and what you want it to be dissolves, because you just stay and be with what is. So it's similar in all the other cases, the body, the feelings, the mind. The mind mental objects are slightly more complicated to be aware of, because they include all kinds of emotions also. But even there, they are also a product of our own mind. And the attitude with which we look at it, that is the one that makes the difference. If you are adding, judgments like this is good, this is bad, I want this, I don't want that, give me some more of this, and then if you don't get it, you feel angry, frustrated, all those things, the attitude is what is the different thing that makes you peaceful or not. So if you are able to just observe what is called with pure mindfulness, awareness, sati, then you're practicing satipatthana bhavana. And all these things then become quite simple. And even the application of the mindfulness in daily life, there's a famous monk who just passed away last year from Vietnam, Thich Nhat Hanh. He had written a book, the Miracle of Being Awake, in which he actually taught methods of applying mindfulness in daily life. When you're doing the dishes, you do the dishes. When you are, doing anything, cleaning or whatever you are doing, do it with mindfulness. There was, of course, also a Zen master called, I think his name was Suzuki Roshi. He was invited to New York, and he had always been teaching that when you are standing, just stand. When you're sitting, just sit. When you're eating, just eat. And when his disciples came to see him in the hotel where he was staying, they saw him reading the New York Times and having his breakfast with the other hand, you see. And they say, oh, master, what are you doing? You were teaching us, we have to just do this or that, not two things at the same time. Then the master said, oh, well, if you are sitting and reading the New York Times and having your breakfast, then you just do that. Well, of course, you cannot have 100% attention on the breakfast while you're reading the international news. So it is a little contradictory. But sometimes you have to do multitasking and still be aware of what you're doing. I suppose Deepal could tell us about that kind of practice in daily life. So mindfulness of the body, as I mentioned earlier, mindfulness of feeling. Now, in the famous meditation courses by S.N. Goenka, Satyanarayan Goenka ji, around the world, they teach the same thing that he had been teaching for the last 40 or 50 years almost, namely the Anapanasati for the first 3 days of 10-day course, and then the awareness of the body. So Anapanasati, I've not mentioned it yet, but it's also part of the awareness of the body. So you can feel the breath. It's not a breathing exercise that you have in some yoga exercises where you do deep breathing and hold it and steer it and exhale deeper. No, this is just natural awareness of natural breathing. And then be aware of that breath as the main focus of your attention. But even there, most of the time, and definitely as beginners, you'll find your mind doesn't want to stay on that object alone. It will go here and there. So instead of getting disturbed by that or angry about it or disheartened, if you just notice that the mind is running, mind is going, or thinking, then it comes back without any problem. And the Anapanasati can be actually practiced for a short time, like they do as the first 3 days of a 10-day course. But it can also be practiced for a longer time, and one can get into deeper states of concentration on through mindfulness of breathing as well. But as J. Krishnamurti has said about that kind of meditation, if you use just mindfulness as a tool for concentration, and if you do get into the deeper levels of concentration, and you think that that is the only way, and you have to get this dhyana, then, and if you don't get it, you get disappointed and you might give up the meditation. Well, in that case, if you get that concentration, you think that you have what is called peace of mind. Actually, it may give you a feeling of peace in your mind. But Krishnamurti said, no, that's not real peace of mind. It's just a piece of the mind, if you know the difference. So a piece of the mind would be the difference is, of course, that if it is a piece of the mind, it's just partial true. And if it is real peace of mind, then it is an all-encompassing state of mind has changed. That may be more the case with what we call vipassana meditation. Not only the vipassana course of 10 days, which is just 3 days anapana and 7 days vedananusati, and then it stops, but also go on later on. They have courses of 30 days, for instance, with you see the awareness of the mind itself and the states of mind. So then it becomes more like satipatthana bhavana and the holistic mindfulness meditation. So that is the overview, basically, of this satipatthana bhavana. And what we should look out for is actually an attitude of what you call letting go in the meditation, not to cling to anything, and also not to condemn anything, and not to get too much involved in anything. If we cling to something for a long time and are not able to let go of that particular thought, for instance, it's a little bit like the monkey which is being caught by a coconut with a hole in it and a piece of sweet inside and tied to a rope by the people who want to catch it. Then the monkey goes in with the hand like this to catch that piece of sweet. He holds the sweet, then his hand becomes bigger, and he tries to pull out from the coconut, but he can't because he's stuck. But he doesn't realize it's because he's clinging. So the monkey's clinging is the problem. If he would just be able to let go of his hand the same way as he came in, then the problem would be over. Similarly, the ability not to cling to thoughts and feelings and other kinds of circumstances also in daily life, quite frankly. So then one is able to live a life that is more free from suffering. And that was, after all, the whole, the purpose of the meditation, namely to overcome greed and hatred and delusion. The delusion part is if we can see things as they really are, by practicing satipatthana bhavana, the mindfulness on these objects, then our suffering also will become lesser and lesser, and maybe we will reach the final aim of nirvana. Sometimes, or most of the time, we don't realize that nirvana is basically already within you. That's the beauty, in a way, that it's not out there. The real happiness and the real peace are not to be found outside of your body or mind, but basically they are already hidden, in a sense, within you. And to find that, we don't need to go anywhere. It's another beauty. You don't need to go anywhere, and you don't really need to do anything except just be. Buddha says that nirvana is actually a state of non-being. Bhavanirodho nibbana. So if that can be the case by insight and wisdom and by letting go, then actually one is also able to attain the peace and happiness within, which nobody can take away, which is really inside yourself. And wherever you go, you can practice it. So, I suppose that we could also practice this meditation. Even the last part may have already been a little introduction to the practice. I would suggest let us sit for a while, quietly. Being aware of your body sitting here now. From top to toe, being aware of the whole body. And if there are any tensions in the body, the muscles, or in your mind, let go of those tensions by relaxing body and mind. And once you really feel that you're sitting here relaxed and aware, let us then develop more metta universal loving kindness for all beings, including yourself, and starting from yourself by wishing from your heart, may I be free from anger and fear. May I be free from greed, hatred, and delusion. May I be free from conflict and suffering, dukkha. May I be well, peaceful, and happy. May I be well and happy. May all beings, near and far, be free from conflict and suffering. May all beings, human, animal, the visible and invisible, be well, peaceful, and happy. May all beings in all directions, above, below, in front of me, behind me, to my right, to my left, and all around, in all directions, near and far. May all beings be well, peaceful, and happy. May all beings be well and happy. Sabbi Satta Bhavantu Sukhitatta. And you can continue repeating that sentence either in English or in Sinhala or in Pali for a minute or two. As Anapana, Metta. And with metta in your mind and heart, and with the tranquility that it brings, you can then slowly stay in that state of mind for a while before we conclude the session of sitting meditation. May all blessings come. Bhavatu Sabbhamangalam. May the invisible helpers, devatas, protect us. Rakantu Sabbadevata. By the power of all enlightened ones, Sabbhabuddhanubhavi. By the power of all truth, Sabbhadhammanubhavi. By the power of the spiritual community, Sabbasanghanum. May the highest happiness, Paramang Sukham, the deepest peace, Paramashanti, the greatest security, Sada Sati, ever be yours. Bhavatu Sambhamangalam, Rakantu Sambhadivata, Sambhabuddhanubhavina, Sada Sati Bhavantu Te. Bhavatu Sambhamangalam, Rakantu Sambhadivata, Sambhadhammanubhavina, Sada Sati Bhavantu Te. Bhavatu Sambhamangalam Rakhantu Sambhadevatam Sambhasanganam Bhavina Sada Sati Bhavantu Te. Now, towards the end of this meditation, before opening your eyes, it is good to just feel your body sitting here once again. And then to gradually become aware of your surroundings. Near and far. The sound. And also the silence around you. And the silence within you. And while relaxing body and mind, you can slowly, slowly open your eyes.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much, Venerable.
You're welcome.
Right. So we have Venerable Vajrarame Jnanasiha Thero. May I invite Venerable Vajrarame Jnanasiha Thero to make any comments or any suggestions?
I would say excellent, excellent. There's nothing for me to comment. I always consider him as my teacher.
Hmm?
So it's excellent, Vimal sir.
Thank you so much. Very nice to hear that from you.
Venerable Vajram, anything on the meditation that you would like to mention? Anything special?
What could I be? He's an excellent teacher of meditation.
Right.
He has so much experience. And I can remember a long time ago, I had a program in Kurunagala.
Kurunagala, yes.
Yes. Where Francisco Priani,
Yeah.
can you remember?
Yeah, from Italy.
From Italy, yes. And so we introduced that to the programs of that organization. Meditation is yet Mr. Professor Piani is conducting the meditation programs. In his, that program of his.
Yes.
That's inspired by you.
Near Venice in Italy.
Italy, yes. It's
yes.
Italy.
It was a program for people to get rid of bad habits, drinking and smoking.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Real meditation.
Yes.
Thank you, Venerable. Dr. Sumana Ratnayaka, I think Dr. Sumana is here with us. Dr. Sumana, can you give any comments on meditation and any other areas connected?
Thank you, Professor Vatola. As everybody remembers history, I also remember a lot of historical incidents with Bhante. When I was first visiting Vegiri Khanda, I remember with the Canadian gentleman in 1982. I got the first impression and inspiration from Bhante. And I mean, that was in 1982, I remember now.
Where was that gentleman from, you said? He's from where?
Canada. His name is Fritz. He was an English teacher.
Prince,
I introduced him Bante in Vegiri Khanda in 1982.
Yes.
And after that, I haven't met him. I mean, these historical incidents I remember started recollecting when Mr. Surya Raji remembered his being in Vegiri Khanda, etc. And also, I want to mention one more incident that when Bante gave a talk on mindfulness, just like today, at in Stockholm, in front of about maybe over 50 people, one of Bante's former teachers attended it. He was a yoga teacher who was very good at Upanishads, and he was arguing and asking so many questions. And why did you go along this mindfulness way? Why did you not practice the yoga and what I taught you before, etc.? So Bante was so calm and quiet and still saying the greatness of practicing mindfulness. And it was so inspirational. And Bante was
Mhm.
not by his arguments at all, and Bante was not answering his questions because he wanted to ask about Upanishads, etc. But Bante wanted to remind him of the importance of practicing mindfulness. Very serene, in a serene way. Bante's talk
Yeah.
today brought me that memory again. Maybe Bante can remember it or maybe not.
Yes. I remember that his name was Krishna Santani from
Aha.
Jaipur, and he was a pupil of Swami Shivananda from Rishikesh in North India, near the Ganges. He had sort of walked away from that ashram. He was more or less a follower of J. Krishnamurti, but he had his own agenda, and he had a girlfriend from Sweden also, and he was so strange. First, I liked him a lot, and after what happened in Sweden, actually a couple of times, the way he treated other people, I thought I must get out of here. I left him. So yeah, I didn't argue with him, but I left him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Bante's answering questions at that time, and also how Bante gave the talk on mindfulness, just like you guided us today. It was so inspirational, so
Thank you.
serene, very good, very useful, Bante. And thank you very much
Great to
indeed.
hear from Dr. Ratnayake.
Thank you, Dr. Sumana. Dr. Bandula Jayatilaka, you have any comments, Dr. Bandula?
Yeah,
Microphone.
it was good. Bante, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
even it's brief, I think it's a very useful and a valuable session. If you can explain two other things that are often discussed in different manners in the what is given in the sutta as Kayanupassi and the Ajjatika Bahira
Yes.
mindfulness. If you can elaborate on it a little bit.
Well, to be aware of the body in the body, that is fairly easily understood, I suppose. But how to explain that to experience something both inside and outside? How can you really experience something outside because you don't have any senses, sort of, unless you have an exterior how do you call it? Not an esoterical, but an ethereal body. Like if you feel your aura, for instance, maybe. But otherwise, you basically have your eyes and ears and nose and tongue, body, and that is how you experience the body, but not from outside, unless you have an out of the body experience. That's another possibility, you know. Like some people have had it. Even Venerable Ananda Maitreya, Balangura Ananda Maitreya tells about his experience that he saw himself from the ceiling lying down on the bed. It was, a very strange experience. But I don't think that is meant in the sutta as experiencing the body from inside and from the outside. But I also personally believe, how is it possible to experience the body really from the outside? According to me, it's unless it is supernatural, otherwise I don't think it is natural.
Is it okay to say normally we experience the body from outside, and then as we meditate, we go more internal awareness?
Oh, I didn't think about that. How do you experience the body from the outside? By
Normally
taking
we
a selfie or
take the
something like
external form, right? Excuse me. Yes.
an external
No.
form. Yes.
Normally
Where do you live, by the way? Your sound comes from far away.
I am in Nugegoda,
Oh,
Sri
right.
Lanka.
Closer by.
He is from the US, but now here on holiday.
Oh,
Maybe
I
my
see.
VPN is on. It takes me to Chicago and then comes back.
Okay. Yeah, but the sound takes more time from you than
What
from
I'm
Winnipeg, even you.
with the encryption and everything also, it takes time.
Yeah. So I see you say the experience normally is from the outside, and as you go meditating, the experience comes more and more from the inside. Yeah, that is also a way of looking at it. Maybe the first one is more like superficial, the other one could be a deep understanding, something like vision. It's not exactly a visual, you can't have a visual from the inside, but maybe,
Not really.
no, but you may feel inside and be aware of that way.
Right.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And where in the States, if I may ask, do you live?
Pardon me?
In the United States, where do you live?
I live in Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. Chicago. Yes.
Thank
I've
you,
been
Bhante.
to Chicago. Yes. Yes, please.
Right. I think Deepal is there. Deepal Suryarajchi. Deepal, I am sure you have some questions and comments to make.
Not really. It was a very pleasant and deep sense of peace in that session. One thing I would like to ask Bhante is that when we are practicing Metta Bhavana by verbalizing, it helps to generate some thoughts which are proximate to the words. But sometimes the thoughts of metta comes without words, very spontaneous. Those cannot be sustained for a period by effort, because the moment you try to do it effortfully, I find it's a bit, there's some division and there's an effort. But I feel that when you are more at peace with yourself, the sense of metta comes out naturally. So I find it a little artificial in a way that we are saying, may all beings well and happy and all that. But sometimes you feel like that, without any words. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that is true. And as you also said, maybe to sustain that particular feeling of metta, we can use the words. But as again, Krishnamurti used to say, the word is not the thing. And when you use the word, there's also a certain amount of ego involved. Whereas metta in itself is a kind of a universal vibration that maybe it comes from your heart or from your mind or combination, and you don't have to make any kind of how do you say, visualizations about what it looks like and things like that. So yeah, if it comes naturally, but then the thing is that the fact is that it doesn't come naturally. And thinking about the son of a a famous American meditation teacher, Jamie Baraz of California, sort of a pupil of Joseph Goldstein and Jack Cornfield. And that son, he used to be into drugs earlier, all kinds of tattoos on his arm. Now he's a meditation teacher after his father. And he said, you know, when he practices Metta Bhavana, he goes like, may all beings be well and happy, and may all beings be well and happy. And suddenly he thinks to himself, except that guy who cheated me, and he suddenly comes out with, you know, an exception to the rule. A real feeling comes out. Maybe it's good for him, but of course it's not very nice in a crowd when you are guiding in meditation. But in a way, it is an actual kind of feeling that he is expressing. Maybe a kind of a therapy, whereas the words being used is a kind of artificial, maybe, wording, and maybe that real feeling is not there at the moment, but you're trying to make it happen. So perhaps you could say you would have, after some time, maybe to let go of that wording also then. Even with other things also, when you're doing like mindful walking meditation, you can use like lifting forward, placing, or different words for the movements. But the actual feeling of walking is more in observing yourself walking without the word.
Yeah.
May I add something just to think about? In Tripitaka, somewhere it says Vitakka Vichara Vachi Sankara. So does it have something related to that?
Vitakka Vichara.
Vachi Sankaras.
Right.
Vitakkas are Vachi Sankaras, right?
Now let me try to work it out what you mean.
Thoughts of the thirds are verbal, but sometimes we have visual thoughts also. No?
Yeah. Before the verbal things, then the vitakkas come. Vitakkas arise, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you cannot do exactly in daily life without the word also, no? So, but then it depends again on what kind of content is there behind it. Is it kusala or akusala, things like that, with the chetana involved in that. And yeah, and you can say, yeah, the content of that would maybe in akusala chetana, and this vitakka vichara, and then the actions that stem from that. So I don't know. But what did you say? What is your name? Imbuleni or no? What is your name?
Pardon me?
Bandula, yeah.
Bandula what?
Jayatilaka.
Jayatilaka.
Huh?
Jayatilaka.
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 Oh, Jayatilaka, okay.
Thank you. I think Seneka, you want to make a comment, I think. Seneka Samarasinghe.
I came to know
Any?
learn about Ananda Thero because of late Professor Hiran Dias and his loving wife, late Erika Dias, at the temple Pagoda Meditation Center, Nugegudi. I can remember the days I met Mahanaka Thero, Diuldene, Jnaneshwar Thero as well. At the same time, I want to note that he invited Venerable Ananda Thero to come and conduct meditation session in Bambalpiti Vajirama during 2010 and 2011 monthly basis. You conducted sessions in Vajirama.
Yeah, it was more the talks, I think. More talks
Yes.
than meditation, wasn't it? Yes.
Yes, sir.
And you
Yes,
were
sir.
there just before you went to Canada.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you reply to every email that I send to 400 people. You're the only one who replies Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Right, Venerable. I'll take a few questions that have come. Actually, I don't know whether some of the members have said that it was too soft. I hope, I think we are now come maybe to the end, but I hope that you were able to listen and undertake the meditation. There is a question, of course, it's an anonymous attendee. Thank you, Bhante, for an excellent sermon and advice. If the mind keeps wandering all the time, is the purpose of the Satipatthana to stop this mental proliferation. But if the mind can't be with the body, feelings, mental phenomena all the time, then did Bhante say we just watch whatever the state of the mind is in the present without clinging and see if constantly changing? Venerable,
Yes, I think if you have that attitude of just observing without any kind of judgment, you know, instead of thinking, oh, I'm thinking, why am I thinking, what am I thinking, I should not be thinking, that only adds fuel to the fire, so to speak. And if you just watch, and even though it may be that the thoughts are going on for a long time, if you manage to just watch without clinging, without condemning, and without getting involved, you know, that is the combination, then it will definitely, you know, sort of diminish and maybe even stop. Whereas if you're trying to fight it, or you want to suppress it, then it becomes only worse. That was a written question by the participants.
Right. Then there is another question. How do we stop clinging to mental phenomena? Please explain.
How?
How do we stop clinging to mental phenomena?
Yes, yes. What comes to my mind is don't ask how, just do it. I mean, yes. If you try to, yeah, that's what people want, maybe a kind of technique and a kind of way and something like a, advice that they can follow, then they're going to try that mechanically. And then I think you're adding actually again some kind of complication to what is. So, yeah, how can one let go of those complicated thoughts? Definitely, let's say the other way around, definitely not by clinging to it. Definitely not by condemning it. Definitely not by liking it. You know, if you are, there is a wish to maybe get rid of it, but how to and what to do? Well, if you can, let's say, concentrate on something else, you know, replace your mind, which is so restless, by focusing on a clear object, maybe in your body, for instance. Could be that then the proliferation of the thoughts might sort of die away, and that it's not so bothering you because you're with something concrete in the body itself. Right. But even if you are having the right attitude towards those thoughts, and you're basically concentrating on the fact that you're thinking, but with the right attitude, not with those words of, oh, I'm thinking, what am I thinking, why am I thinking, I shouldn't be thinking. That is like making it worse. Yes, Seneca, you also were saying something? No.
Whenever next, there is a comment, actually appreciation. How much merit to you That's by Lakshmi D'Souza. Much merit to you, Venerable Sir, for your compassionate Dhamma talk and guided meditation session. Both are greatly appreciated.
That's very nice. Very nice,
Right.
Lakshmi.
Then question from Mohan Gunasekara. Mindfulness can only be achieved through internal reflection. Would this be correct?
Mindfulness could only be achieved through internal
Reflection.
Well, I suppose you have to go from the gross to the more subtle. Start with the gross and go towards the subtle. So the more subtle is maybe within the body, within the mind, but first maybe you can be aware of, as we said in the case of mindfulness of the body, to be aware of whether you're sitting or standing or walking or lying down. Some people don't know whether they are coming or going, you see. They are not aware of what they're doing. So to put your mind to that first, that is not exactly the internal reflection, but it starts from the grosser and then you go towards the finer.
Thank you, Venerable. Much merit to you. I think we've had the Dhamma talk, the meditation, and also the Q&A. I will now invite Mr. Kamal Nilavira, who's our member of our committee, to pay merit to Bhante.
Sadhu. Venerable Anande, thank you very much for your Dhamma session today on the foundation of mindfulness. A very interesting and important Dhamma sermon on Duruthu full moon day, which has a lot of significance for Buddhists all over, especially for Sri Lanka. Today we had over 190 participants on Zoom. There were including Venerables and Bhikkhunis, and we also had Venerable Vajrarama Nanasingha Thero in the panel. Thank you very much. You have supported the international Dhamma sessions very well, Venerable Olande Thero, and I hope that you will continue to give us more sermons and enlighten us again. Much merit to you. Thank you very much, Venerable. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Kamal. Venerable, there is one question actually. It's from Francis and Helena Brick. I think they are overseas.
No, not Francis, it's Francois. He's French.
Frank?
And she's from Holland. They used to live in Sweden.
Right.
I went with her to the Sri Lankan temple in Stockholm also.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, they just joined from today.
Question is, how can we dominate our monkey brain?
Oh, I think I'll have to come to France to teach them. But anyway, so they're well experienced. They lived a long time in Indonesia. Enough monkeys there in Bali. But their own monkey, they may have not been able to train that well. So sorry to say, Francois and Helena. But anyway, the monkey mind, it doesn't need any training. Let it be jumping up and down for some time until it feels tired. And then you will be able to sort of train it. And you should look at this monkey series in the Yahoo, what is it, the television on the internet. There's a monkey who does exactly what the boss wants to do. It's very clever, and it has been trained to follow them, and it does so many things. I think if one is with compassion and patience and mindfulness combined, that the monkey mind will also slowly lie down and be thankful for what you are doing for it.
Thank you, Bante. There, Anudi Connolly, I think maybe known to Bante, Venerable Bante. Anudi Connolly. She is also attending our programs regularly. Venerable Bante, thank you for such a wonderful discourse to start the year. There are so much uncertainty in the world today. We need to practice compassion on a daily basis. She also pays much merit to all of us. Thiruvan Saranam.
Okay.
So Bante, with that, can we pay merit to the Devas and departed to conclude our Dhamma session?
Yes. Akasattha Chibummatta Devanaga Hindika Punyang Tang Anumoditta Chirang Rakkantu Lokasasanang Akasattha Chibummatta Devanaga Hindika Punyang Tang Anumoditta Chirang Rakkantu Desanang Akasattha Chibummatta Devanaga Hindika Punyang Tang Anumoditta Chirang Rakkantu Mantaranti Ettavata Amnehi Sambadang Punya Sampadang Sambi Deva Anumodantu Samba Sampati Siddhya Ettavata Amnehi Sambadang Punya Sampadang Sambi Bhuta Anumodantu Samba Sampati Siddhya Ettavata Amnehi Sambadang Punya Sampadang Sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampaddi siddhya idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatiyo idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatiyo idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatiyo.
Sadhu. So Venerable Thero, much merit to you, and I know that you were not too well, but you have now recovered, and thank you very much.
Recovered in time, yes.
So good health and much merit to Bante, and thank you very much for this Dhamma sermon and the meditation program and the Q&A session that was answered very well. Sadhu.
Much merit to you also, Professor Vattavela, for organizing all this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bante. Thank you very much. We have had some more questions, but I can't. Maybe.
It's almost sort of time to say goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. So I think we will now wind up and we'll close the sessions. Sadhu.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thiruvan Saranai.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, all our members.
Keep warm. Ratnaik.
Thank you, Bante. Thiruvan Saranai, Bante.
Okay.